Sun, sea, and cars. Let's face it, millions of drivers this summer won't be spending their time by the water's edge. Instead, they'll be spending it in here, a warm metal box on wheels. And with summers of past getting warmer and warmer, they're going to want to be taking advantage of air conditioning. But for many, they won't have pushed the little button on the dashboard for a fair few months. They won't know how it works, they won't know if it works. And that means that workshops are going to be busier than ever as more and more cars come with air conditioning, more and more drivers take advantage, and more drivers need some form of air conditioning servicing.
So thinking about air conditioning service now is that first and foremost, AC system has a tendency to work during the wintertime because it's cold outside. So in general, you just generate the cold air from outside. So nobody really knows whether the AC system works or not to a certain degree. You also have to remember that everybody comes into the workshop in the last minute. So when a car comes into a workshop after 5-6 months of not working or something else, it looks like it's working. Everything seems to be fine. They do a little bit of service, they charge, they recharge, they pull a vacuum. But it might be that once you've done that and it works perfectly, that something else will break down. When a system is not operating exactly the way it should, the whole circulation of oil is not the way it should be. That means that you're starving the compressor for oil. And when you do that, it means that it could potentially run for a while. And then when you suddenly start to really need the AC system, all of a sudden it's out of oil or there's a very little amount of oil in it. And all of a sudden, right after the service, it does break down. And it's not because they did the service, it's simply because now it's fully working. And therefore, it actually does need the full capacity of oil and refrigerant and so forth.
Air conditioning has always been seen as a seasonal summer thing, especially with drivers out and about in warm weather. But with the advent of modern technologies, is air conditioning actually more of an all-year-round thing?
Well, it's always been the thought that AC was only for summertime. I mean, it's changed over time because it was integrated more and more into the vehicle, so you couldn't really choose. You had to turn it off. Actually, it was not like you turned it on. It was always on because it keeps the humidity and the moisture in the vehicle perfect. And you have to remember with the new type of components and systems, it does need to run all the time because it controls itself. It's moving into the age of thermal management, not really being there with a normal AC system. But with thermal management, talking about heat pumps, we are slowly going into that.
But what do you need to know as a business about the different types of air conditioning gases, R134A or R1234YF? They are important, they are both different, and one is more sustainable than the other.
Everyone knows 134A, which is used in vehicles until 2017, because from January the 1st, 2017, all new produced cars within the EU has to have 1234YF refrigerant. And that the reason is environmental, because of the global warming potential and the GWP, and to reduce global warming, because 134A has a high GWP of 1430, and the replacement refrigerant 1234YF has a GWP of only 4. Another thing, what we see with electric vehicles is the use of CO2, R744. And with CO2, you work with much higher pressures. It's completely different compared with 134A or 1234YF. It requires different equipment. So, yeah. And then again, we come to knowledge. If you want to do a proper service, then you need to understand how to deal with those types of refrigerant.
But new plans for gases, especially 134A, could lead to a rise in counterfeit products being made available, and garages need to be aware of these to make sure they're offering the correct gas that is not going to damage a customer's vehicle.
The 134A is the availability is reduced. There's a phase-out schedule within the EU because, as said, the 134A is a high GWP, and the EU wants to phase down 134A and replace it with lower GWP refrigerants. This is causing the import of fake refrigerants. And fake refrigerants are not pure 134A, usually are blends with, for example, 134A, R12, other types of refrigerants, which can cause problems with your AC system. So it's very important that if you buy 134A, that you buy from a trusted source.
When a car comes into a workshop, it is easy to fall into the trap of just believing it needs to be regassed. But should the air conditioning system be inspected beforehand to check for issues that might lead to gases leaking in the first place?
Of course, if it's low on refrigerant or if it's not performing the way it should, it's always very easy just to regas. Just charge the refrigerant, then everything's fine. But that might not be the reason why it's not working. It could be several other things. So therefore, you do need to measure low pressure, high pressure. You do need to do a visual inspection. You do need to connect your visual diagnostic tool, a sight glass that you connect to low pressure port and high pressure port. And then you basically see the flow of refrigerant going through. That's highly efficient because you have to remember that when an AC system or heat pump system works during the year, if it doesn't work perfectly, you will see that the coloration of the oil starts to change. So best practice of measuring low pressure, measuring high pressure, measuring airflow, measuring inlet temperature, doing a visual inspection, and definitely see if something's leaking. That is by far the first thing you should do. Regassing is the last thing you do because that's the thing that you know you have to do because it's low on gas. But you have to remember, if it's really low on gas, there probably is a leak somewhere.
So when it comes to air conditioning servicing, what is it that garages should really consider top of their list before they decide to go down that path of offering the service to the customers?
Before getting into servicing AC or repair is to invest not only in equipment, but also in knowledge, how to service AC and how to repair AC. For example, with the AC service, if you buy an AC refilling machine, usually it's a full automatic machine. The mechanic only has to press the enter button, select the vehicle, and the machine runs a program. And at the end, it will give you a warning. The process is finished, and that's it. But what is happening inside the machine? What is the process? Usually, the mechanic has no clue what the machine is doing. What is needed, how much oil do I need to add, UV dye. So there it already goes wrong when you service AC systems. So I can only say, if you think about getting into AC service / repair, please invest in not only equipment, but more important in knowledge.
Warm weather will always mean more air conditioning work. It is probably worth mentioning to customers that they should be checking air conditioning units earlier in the year to make sure they don't miss out on slots for said work, repair or replacement in your workshop. By educating the market, we can remove the seasonal effect of air conditioning, spreading it out throughout the year and making sure that we're not rammed full of air conditioning repairs when we should be working on other services as well. Millions more cars are coming with air conditioning as standard, meaning it's going to be a vital part of the aftermarket for years to come. And you need to be ready to take those jobs on. Whew.